the one thing I will say about competitions is I think it's good to, if you have the desire to do them, they can be good for two reasons. One is that you do improve a lot when you practice, because I think practicing just for your lesson is great. And if you're self-motivated and you know that you're going to make improvement, and you believe in the path that your teacher is taking you, it's a good route for improvement. But this sort of accelerates the whole thing. And it doesn't have to be an international competition, obviously depends on your level, but you can start with some local competitions and just start realizing that you focus a little differently. And you think to yourself, maybe if you're practicing for a lesson, I think sometimes you think, okay, it's 5 o'clock, I'm going to stop. But when you have something like a competition on your mind, you just keep going, and you all of a sudden start developing a standard which is a little bit higher. You have to have a thick skin, because the chances of winning are low. But I think if you go into it with that attitude, you can get a lot out of what you do in terms of your preparation. And of course, if you do well, one of the big things about music is who you know when you get to a certain point, when you get ready to start a career. And I'll give you that perfect example is that when my quartet was looking for a first violinist in 1990, they went to two people, Dorothy DeLay and Bobby Mann. Dorothy DeLay because they needed a first violinist and they wanted to know what violinist she might think. And Bobby Mann because he was Bobby Mann and he knew a lot about what was going on in chamber music. They both mentioned my name. And the reason was that I just played the Naumburg competition. Bobby Mann was on the jury and was the president of the Naumburg. So if I just had said to myself, I don't need to do the Naumburg competition, he never would have heard me in that context. The fact that he heard me, I didn't win, there was nothing, but it was the first name that came to his mind when my three guys said we're looking for a first violinist. So the idea that you get out there and get your name around when you get to that point in your musical career or in your musical development is very, very important. So I would urge it for those two reasons: not to win, but to be exposed and to enhance your sense of how you're practicing, so that you can all of a sudden, people's progress goes like this, and then all of a sudden there are moments when it goes up. And I think competitions can have that effect. Other things can too, but that would be the reason to do them at your guys' stage of the game.
So, first I just want to say, none of us are trying to convince you to be in the academia. This is something, it's not like trying to convince you to come to our school for, to study. This is something that we've chosen. And I think a lot of people are sort of curious about it. So as I was writing these, I thought, okay, all these first things are very true. It is, boy, right now with coronavirus, this is probably the most stable thing in music for the next 6 months or so, that you're going to get.
2 years.
Yeah, for quite a while. You do have an ability to really take what concerts you want to take, what concerts you don't want to take. You have a automatic venue to collaborate. You have, concert halls. You have funding. Some schools more than others, but I often get funding to bring in guest artists, to bring in people to collaborate with. And there are long periods of time, the summer, and also usually like a good month in the winter, where you can go and do your own thing. And as I was writing all these, I thought, these are all true. But you know what? Even if I won the lottery and I was like a multi-millionaire, I still would be teaching at Rowan. And I think what I really see with Larry and Sheila too is like, this is almost like a vocation. This is what we do. In a way that really is life-changing. So for me, not that there are, of course, days that I go in and I'm very frustrated or whatever, you know what I mean? But for me, teaching really is an incredible experience of just sharing your artistry with the next generation, seeing people really, get their own ideas, get their own thoughts, really coming to some conclusions. And a lot of these students will become teachers as well in one form or another. So.
Well, this time of really scary uncertainty, I decided, well, what if I'm on this break from my real life? I always kind of had in the back of my head, what if I could be a nurse? If I wasn't a musician, I would love to be a nurse. And so I took a nursing aid course with American Red Cross. And in that course, I had the opportunity to care hands-on for patients in a nursing home. And one of those patients that I was assigned was a late-stage Alzheimer's patient who, when she was assigned to me, I was told by my advisor, she hasn't spoken in years. She's at the stage where her body has forgotten. So everything hurts. Don't worry. She's going to scream at you the whole time. Just get in, get out, get the job done. And I tried. I went in and I couldn't do it. And so I just sat with her for a couple minutes in silence, just held her hand. And lo and behold, the person who hadn't spoken in years turned to me and started talking to me in complete sentences, and actually logical sentences as well, which showed that she was there. It's just no one had given her a chance to say anything. No one had been there to listen. And so we started talking, and every time I saw her, even when I wasn't assigned to her, for the rest of the residency, she would talk to me. She would reach out to me. And so I obviously became very attached to her. And I promised her on the last day of the residency that if I could play again, I would bring my instrument and my friends from my other life and come and play for her. And so on the way home from that day, I called up my mom and said, I want to start a concert series, and I want it to be something that is all about people like Ruth. I want to go and play for these nursing homes that people have thrown their relatives to the side and forgotten about them. I want to go to the corners that people have forgotten. And I want it to be called Project Music Heals Us. And so 6 months later, I dragged Andrew into it already. And we were playing a Mozart viola quintet in her bedroom and watched the effects of music on Ruth. We watched as her very bound up physical body relaxed and released. I was, of course, as I was playing, I was like keeping an eye out the whole time, trying to make sure that, we weren't upsetting her, or like, how's it going? And yeah, we watched it. She came in with like completely bound up face, just like, oh, like, really was obviously having a terrible day. And like 2 lines in, one eye popped open, then like 3 lines in, the next eye popped open. And by the end of that one movement of Mozart, her shoulders were down, her mouth was open, and she was just soaking in what we were giving her. And so, that was the very first concert of Project Music Heals Us. And it sort of fueled the next 7 years. We're going on 7 years now that we've been doing this, and it's reached now into nursing homes, retirement homes, hospitals, hospices, centers for individuals with disabilities, rehab centers, refugee centers, and a huge branch is prisons. And yeah, and it's been a wild ride, but really, and it's been a lot of work, like what we're talking about, what you were talking about with the nonprofit, the sort of scales and etudes of running an organization. There's a lot of that, but really every time that we go into the prison and we play for the inmates in our programs, or we go in and play at the bedside of hospitalized patients, or we, all of these experiences, they make it worth it. and we really feel like it's where we need to be when we need to be.
So the Young Artist Program is to bring young artists into the places where the music that they are playing is going to really, really make a difference for somebody. Not a lot of people. We're not bringing them into play for 2,000 people who need to hear it. We're bringing them into a hospice where you're going to be playing for 2 or 3 people who are at the end of their life, and you're going to bring them a moment of beauty with maybe their nurse and a family member. And that's going to be an incredibly special moment for that family unit, for that patient medical worker relationship. And that, I know that when I was that age, that had a huge impact on me. I know for Molly, it's the same thing. It's one of these, like, for lack of a better term, like pure musical moments. And it really refocuses people on why they're going to music. Because sometimes you can just get down this alley of like, okay, this is what I need to do next. This is what I need to do next. And the why of music gets lost in that. So we're hoping with these young artist mentorships to really keep you have to do all that stuff, but you also have to keep an eye on the real purpose of all of this in the end.